darlings, you are welcome to our channel. My name is Murayo Ahunaya and we have been on this journey together, the latest Nigerian mommy in town. And you know some of you. How are you doing? Happy Sunday. How has your Sunday been? How was church? How was service if you went to church? And if you've been at home all day, hope it's been cool. And if you're watching post Sunday, yeah, how was your Sunday? How was your weekend? Happy New Week! Today we're going to be continuing from where we stopped last week. You know, I told you last week that we decided to get pregnant one particular day. I told you all that entailed. If you missed that video, then just go back and catch up on it after you finish this one. Anyways, we're going to be continuing from where we stopped. So sit back, relax, and stay tuned. Okay, yeah, you're welcome back. So this week we're going to be talking about, what happened after I now eventually got pregnant. This week is the beginning of a beautiful new roller coaster, because this week is going to open you up deeply into everything that pregnancy and being pregnant in Nigeria entails. Okay, so yeah, how do I start? It's just going to be story time, and I hope it's going to be fast so I don't bore you to tears. Where do I start? I told you guys already that I got pregnant in February. The fertilization happened in February, but I did not know about it until late March. In fact, the day I discovered it was, I can't forget, because it was the day I went to pick my sister from the park. She was going to come and spend a week with me. Coronavirus had just begun to take a swim in Nigeria at that period, and she was in law school in Enugu. So she's still in law school in Enugu currently. So they told people to go on a break. So she just thought that it wasn't that serious yet. She would come to my place for a week and then she would go to Lagos after a week and a half or 2 weeks, And before the end of that week, things got serious. Corona boomed in our faces, very unexpectedly. But back to the gist. So it was the day I went to pick my sister, and it was a friend's son's birthday. Nate, my darling. It was his birthday, and that was the day that I discovered that I was pregnant. Prior to that time, I had already had a feeling that, there was something happening with me. I wasn't my usual self, but I was in denial, and I was attributing it to a late or a delayed menstruation. Even on that day, people had already complimented me at the party that, Amora, you look so lush. I put a picture up on Instagram set for that day, and one of my friends messaged me and said, Murayo, these boobies that I'm looking at, are you sure you're not pregnant? And I'm like, this is the usual thing that everybody has been saying to me. So I was in denial because I did not want to be hurt again. I didn't want to be disappointed like I had been in January. But I wasn't taking too much note, because if I was, February was kind of a very significant month in my pregnancy journey to an extent. Now, I told you guys already that pregnancy is as spiritual as it is physical. And I'm not trying to spook you guys, but there were a few things that happened in February that was significant to this, my journey. The first thing was that a friend of mine was delivered her son in February, and I was there for the birth, the whole thing. I was at the hospital with her. I was in the room because I was there to take, photographs of her delivery, and I was generally there to help and to be of help and to be of comfort to her family and to her. And at that time, it was a seed. I was just sowing a seed of love. But all the little things that you do, in the journey of pregnancy matters. And I also believe, what you sow, you reap. So if you're a spiritual person, you believe in these kinds of things, if you can find someone that is pregnant around you, or an orphanage or something that is attributed to that seed that you're seeking, if you're seeking to be pregnant, you can actively sow into it, and who knows, you may reap a benefit from it. So that happened in February. And then also in February, one early morning like that, after I'd done overnight work, you know, the different works that I do, you know, architecture, photography, entails you working overnight. Like if you want to meet a deadline, you know, sometimes you have to work overnight. So it was one of those nights where I was working, or I'd worked overnight, and at the wee hours of the morning, just as I was about to close, I just felt a nudging in my spirit to go and have sex with my husband. And I'm like, I'm about to go to bed, you know, like Peter, I've toiled all night. I've got nothing. I mean, my editing was working fine, but I'm like, I'm tired, do I want to sleep? Which kind of instruction is this? But I said, well, if this thing is, if you feel a nudging like this and it was strong on my heart, go and have sex with your husband. I just felt this is the time. So I carried myself and did as I was told. I think my husband was even surprised. I woke up and said, we have to have sex now. Like. Anyways, moving on. Moving on from that. And then the third, I think that 3 spiritual things happened. The third spiritual thing that happened was that towards the end of the month, my husband had a dream. And it was like, he woke up and said, we're going to have a son. And I'm like, eh. Say yes, I saw in my dream that I was given a beautiful son. I'm like, okay, all these things are tallying. But yeah, if I had been more aware of all those things, maybe I wouldn't have been in denial. I would just have been certain that, you know what, I'm pregnant. So anyways, we got back home from the party, and I said, honey, we were in the room together. My sister we'd already settled her in our own room, and then I was in the room with my husband. Honey, people were really talking about my boobies and how I was looking lush, etc. He said, hey, why don't you take the pregnancy strip test and check, maybe you are actually pregnant. I was in denial, but I knew that it was correct. So I took the test, the strip test, and you know, the one that you pee on, and I did a quick pee on it. It didn't even take up to 1 minute. I saw the second thick, you know, line, and I'm like, I'm actually pregnant. So I went back to the room. He was still on his phone. He didn't even look up. He said, you're pregnant, Abby. I said, let me check, because I had a lot of, you know, home kits in the house for testing for pregnancy, you know. So I took another one, went to the toilet, you know, peed on it again, and then I saw, you know, confirmation, you are pregnant. And I'm like, okay. So I came out, I sat on the bed, and I looked at him and said, we're pregnant too. You know, first of all, I was feeling very, I don't know why, for some reason I thought I would have been more excited, but I was underwhelmed. I don't know if there's anybody that has felt that. I was like, gosh, why am I not feeling the excitement or the crying or the praying? You know, I've watched some people talk about how they reveled in the moment of the discovery of them being pregnant, especially when they waited a bit, you know, they reveled in it. And I'm like, I'm not feeling any of these emotions. Why? So we sat down together on the bed, and you know, we said, oh, thank God for this, thank God that this happened. But there wasn't we weren't any overly excited, all those kind of things. It was just like normal. I'm like, what kind of weird couple are we? Moving on. The next morning, we called our GP and said, oh, we want to come into the hospital to check for the, you know, the seed that had been sown, if there was a child and stuff like that. We feel like we were pregnant. Our GP was excited. Hey, you people that just came in November, I'm so happy for you. It was so quick. Okay, I'll refer you. Oh, so sorry, I'm going to be using medical terms, which I'm going to explain in a separate video. GP is general practitioner. It's just like your regular everyday doctor. So he referred us to the office of the OBGYN. OBGYN is obstetrician gynecologist, and he referred us to the office of the OBGYN. It's just easier to use those terms because they're shorter than me saying obstetrician gynecologist. So when we got to the office of the OBGYN, because of the whole corona thing, I mean, he referred us to go that day. But when we called the office of the OBGYN, we were told to come, I think, a week after or so, because of the whole procedure, corona, etc. In fact, the person called us, are you sure that you are pregnant? We said, with this strip test, we are sure. When we got to the OBGYN's office, she referred us to the radiologist. Radiologist was supposed to do an ultrasound, I mean a sonography, something like that. So he did an ultrasound, and then the result of the ultrasound was that it was a gestational sac. They couldn't see, the seed inside the sac, so it was just the bag, in the uterus that was. Gestation was happening, but they could not see it was empty according to the man's sonography or ultrasound. And I'm like, what does that mean? What are we supposed to do with this information? But that was a blessing in disguise, because he now told us that return at the end of your first trimester, that is 12 weeks, and it will be easier this test will be way clearer. We'll see what is inside, whether it's a child, whether it's 2 children, whether there's nothing. I'm like, please sir, God forbid bad thing. So we went back home, and for a while I was hiding it from my sister. I'll be vomit. If I want to vomit, I'll vomit in my room. I'll try to hold my voice. My dear, of no use. I'm going to give us some advice towards the tail end of this video, which we've almost come to anyways. So 12 weeks came. Those 6 weeks were like 6 months. They were so tumultuous. If nobody has told you, for a lot of women, the first trimester is one of the worst trimesters. We have 4 trimesters, and the first is one of the worst. It is so tumultuous. A lot is happening to you. You are bloated, you're constipated, you're having morning sickness, which is not, it doesn't just happen in the morning, it happens like all day, every day, all time. You are having itchiness sometimes, your breast is tender, you are sore, you are cranky. So there's a lot happening on the inside. You're moody, and a lot of these things, funny enough, I experienced even food aversions. You can't eat some food cravings. I didn't even really have cravings for like almost the whole of that 6 weeks. I was drinking yogurt because I was vomiting every other thing. But yeah, we'll get to that. We're going to get to that proper in the videos coming. So yeah, 12 weeks came, and we called the GP. GP said, I don't have business with you again. Called the OBGYN, the OBGYN's office, and then we called the OBGYN. OBGYN was just turning us up and down. Eventually, she's like, we eventually got to talk to somebody else, I think a nurse or so, and the nurse was like, we're only taking in emergency cases because of COVID. At that time, COVID had become very serious in Nigeria. Cases every day, you look at your phone, bad news. Now imagine that kind of emotional trauma added to what was going on with me. We're going to talk about conceiving a pandemic in a separate video. Anyways, back to what we're saying. So I'm like, what do you mean emergency? Emergency as in what? So emergency as in dying, COVID dying, serious stuff. You can't just come to the clinic. First of all, your body is vulnerable. Second of all, you having to check your child isn't such a priority. Give it a few weeks. Hopefully this COVID thing will have died now. Had we known? We didn't know anything. Anyways, I was like, I want to know if there's a gestational, there's a baby inside or not. I can't be going through all these things. So that was what led us to, visit another clinic and to check out other birthing center options, which will be the theme of next week's video. So I hope you've enjoyed this video of course. I hope you've enjoyed my little story time. Let me know in the comment section below how, if you've been pregnant before, whether you had this experience of gestational sac, when you don't know if there's anything inside. And yes, also what I forgot to add was that the whole complication, the whole thing was a blessing in disguise. You see, as a Yoruba girl, we like to hide things sometimes. You say, there's a proverb that says, Bishweni bata ama boni, which literally means if your yam is done, if what you're cooking is done, you cover it to eat it, which is weird, right? But the translation is sometimes good things thrive in secrecy. So, unknown to me, the first trimester is the most dangerous trimester. It's this trimester whereby the woman is most vulnerable, and so is the baby. So the fact that we had COVID and we had to rest, I was forced to rest, to stay indoors. Oh yes, I promised you guys I was going to share some tips. I was forced to rest, I was forced to stay indoors. I was forced to not exact, there was no pressure to share, because what am I sharing? I don't even know if the baby's there. All those things were very helpful for me. So yes, what will I tell you? When you discover you're pregnant, which is the theme of this video, pregnant, what now? I think the first thing you should do if you're a spiritual person is to thank God. Thank God, and because He has brought you thus far. Thank God because you were even able to have this experience. No matter how underwhelming or overwhelming it seems or is, no matter how happy, elated, or how normal or neutral you are, just thank Him. Just thank Him. Just say, God, I thank you. Thank you because this is happening. No matter how sick you're feeling, because you're going to feel a lot of sickness, just thank Him. Thank Him for the process. Thank Him because things are going to get better, because it will get better. That is a promise. The next thing that you should do is to please stock up on your routine drugs. They're going to give you that if you go to the hospital anyways. Folic acid, vitamin D, ferrous, I think. Different things. This is not my place to say all these things. Your own GP or your own OBGYN is going to give you what you need, because you may need extra or you may need less. I know some people that they get calcium, but that's moving on. So take your routine drugs and take them religiously, whether you're vomiting them out or not. You see, this period, this first trimester, is where the vital organs, the basic things of your child is being developed. So even if you're not eating, which I was feeling bad, I'm like, I'm not eating, I hope my child is going to be taking nutrients. Just use your routine drugs. Manage it. If you don't like swallowing pills, just manage, just for that, that period of time. Then you're going to have to, stop alcohol, stop caffeine, those things that we talked about last week. If you have strength to exercise, but I didn't have strength to exercise. You can. Nobody's forcing you. The most important thing is rest a lot. Use your routine drugs, drink lots of water, stay hydrated, because your blood will begin to, your blood circulation, pressure, everything is going to begin to take a new form, new shape, and activity within your body is going to increase significantly. And also, do not expose yourself to germs and things like that. If you can get help, don't be like me, which is what I was saying earlier. Please inform, people in your household, like your mates and people that can really help you. If you have siblings around, tell them you're pregnant and tell them it's time to work. Just get everybody's minds prepared, because you won't be able to help yourself. At some point, I could not smell food, talk less of cooking. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about all those things much later. Thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for loving, liking, commenting. I am grateful, and I'm going to see you next week. Much love.